it's out of intensive care, David, why are you making so many cuts then to people who are very often the poorest people in society? Why are you doing that if it's out of intensive care? Because it seems to me that this spending review is a continuation of the strategy that the government has had ever since it came in, which has been to say the country is in debt and therefore we need to get money back. And who are we going to get the money back from? The poor. That's who. It's the poor. It seems to be the belief of this government that the people with all the money in society are the poor. This is mainstream economics in this country now, is that the poor are richer than the rich. And therefore we have to get the money back from them. And I wonder what world you're in when you say it's out of intensive care. The cuts that are happening now and even more as a result of this review. Talking about people like firefighters, everywhere, fire stations shutting down. Were these the people who caused the debt? Firemen, were they the ones causing it? Running up bills of billions of pounds and gambling half the economy on the stock exchange in between fighting fires? I noticed there's a swimming pool in Newcastle that's been shut. Why on earth should it be the swimming pool in Newcastle that gets shut when it's the bankers that caused all this? Am I wrong? Are we all wrong? Maybe it was people swimming in the pool who in between links were destabilising the currency by gambling $500 million on the stock exchange. It's absurd. And the reason that this is pertinent now is because the amount of money that's going to be saved by the government on this spending announcement this week is not all that much, but it is important. And it's important, I think, because it's about a culture that your government is managing to uphold, which is a culture to say that it's the poor to blame, and what we'll do is we'll make all the different sections of the people who aren't the rich, who didn't cause the crisis, all blame each other. We'll say, right, you're on benefits, so you're to blame. The people who have still got pensions, will say they're to blame. Meanwhile, in the real world, where you can't just sit there and say it's out of intensive care, there is a very small minority of people who are richer than ever, and somehow you leave them alone. Okay,
it's degrading. It's especially when you've worked all your life. And you've got to, when people have got to come and tell you that they can't sort you out a parcel, and they take, sorry about this, because it's the most hard, you know what it is I hate talking about this because I think it's the most degrading thing going. And I need to let the nation know what it's like.
Yes, sure. Oh, this is good. You're right. There we are. We terrible moment there. Health and safety. Are you okay? Right. Okay. There we are.
So I'm being interrupted by my own spin doctor here. Come on. Anyway, go on.
Finish your answer, please.
My answer is you might equally ask.
We have a relationship with Saudi Arabia, and if you want to know why, I'll tell you why. It's because we receive from them important intelligence and security information that keep us safe. I could come on your break.
The sovereign right to make the decision about whether we stayed in or we left. This is not about discussing terms of what happens. All this is about...
Only possible with a strong economy, and that's only possible with a strong and stable government. A choice between the strong and stable leadership of the Conservatives. You've got the strong and stable leadership that secures a strong economy, and that's what with a strong economy, and that's only possible with a strong and stable Conservative leadership by a strong and stable government. For strong and stable leadership, building a stronger and more secure vote for a stronger economy, and every vote for me and the local Conservative candidate will be vote for a strong and stable leadership in the national interest. Strong economy guaranteeing investment with a strong economy and a strong voice.
Strong defences, strong economy and strong leadership.
Under a strong Conservative government.
Agree that it's only a vote for strong and stable Conservative leadership in the national interest.
Under her strong and stable leadership. Cure a strong economy.
Has been a strong campaigner, a strong champion. Strong economy. If we secure the strong and stable leadership our country needs to have, and with the strong economy that comes from a strong and stable government, and a strong hand in negotiations, has a strong voice, the strongest possible centre will be looking for strong defences, for a strong economy, for the strong leadership, as well as the strong and secure. They want that strong voice for their local A&E, with the ear of a strong Conservative government, continuing to keep our economy strong and invest.
I can't understand the Theresa May's position here, because she's called a general election that she clearly doesn't want to participate in herself. And her
why do you say that?
Well, because she's not wanting to do a debate. She's standing back from. She's standing back from doing all but minimal TV interviews. And as far as I can see, the Tories want to talk about two things. They want to talk about Brexit. We had a referendum on Brexit last year. And the other thing they want to do is just throw abuse at Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah. I haven't heard a single... haven't heard a single policy on healthcare, on education, on welfare, on immigration from the Conservatives. It's just that they want to focus on Brexit again, and they want to throw mud at Jeremy Corbyn.
Let me ask you about some of the things that came up in the documentary.
Right. Well, I haven't seen it, so you...
No, but this happened in your life, so you know about this. The Times let you go after you'd made up a quote. Why did you make up a quote?
Well, this again, you know, these are big terms for what happened. Well, I can tell you the whole thing. I mean, are you sure our viewers wouldn't want to hear more about?
Well, if you don't want to talk about the made-up quote, let me talk about something.
It was a long and lamentable story.
Okay, but you made a quote.
Well, what happened was that I ascribed events that were supposed to have taken place before the death of Piers Gaveston to events that actually took place after the death.
You made something up. Let me ask you about another little...
I mean, I mildly sandpapered something.
Let me ask you about a barefaced lie.
Very embarrassing. I'm very sorry about it.
Let me ask you about a barefaced lie. When you were in Michael Howard's team, you denied to him you were having an affair. It turned out you were. And he sacked you for that. Why did you lie to your party?
Well, I mean, again, with great respect, on that, I never had any conversation with Michael Howard about that matter, and, you know, I don't...
You did lie.
Well, you know, I don't propose to go into all that again.
I don't blame you.
No, well, why should I? I mean, I've been through, you know, that question a lot with the. Watch the documentary.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about something else?
The programme also includes. Well, this is about your integrity.
Okay.
The programme includes your reaction as you listen to a phone call, in which your friend Darius Guppy asks you to supply the address of a journalist, so that he can have him physically assaulted. The words "beaten up" and "broken ribs" are said to you. And you, having heard that, you tell your friend, Darius Guppy, you will supply the address. What does that say about you, Boris Johnson?
Well,
aren't you, in fact, making up quotes, lying to your party leader, wanting to be part of someone being physically assaulted? You're a nasty piece of work, aren't you?
Well, you know, Eddie, I think all three things I would dispute.
Well, you don't factually dispute them.
Well, I do, and I could, you know, if we had a long time, which we don't, I could explain that I think all three interpretations you're putting on those things aren't wholly fair. And certainly the final thing which you raised, which is the case of my old friend Darius. Yes, it was certainly true that he was in a bit of a state, and I did humour him in a long phone conversation, from which absolutely nothing eventuated. And you know, there you go. But I think if any of us had our phone conversations bugged, they might, you know, people say all sorts of fantastical things whilst they're talking to their friends.
But even Conrad Black, your friend, convicted fraudster, even he says he doesn't trust you completely.
I hadn't seen that Conrad had said that, but obviously, nonetheless, I've got a great admiration for Conrad, who, in my view, is a pretty good journalist.
And you have raised again and again the question of Jeremy Corbyn. Can I put it to you that when it came to one of the most important votes that we've had in recent times on the Iraq war, whatever you think of Jeremy Corbyn, he was on the right side looking at history, and you were on the wrong side. You went into the voting lobbies behind Tony Blair and voted for the Iraq war, which had so many disastrous consequences. And he did the unpopular thing and stood out against it. On that, at least, he was right and you were wrong.
If we look at this choice at this election, the choice people will be making is who do they want to see as Prime Minister? Who do they want to see leading those Brexit negotiations? Who do they want to see defending this country? What Jeremy Corbyn has shown is that he's not prepared to stand up for the defence of this country. His economic policies simply don't add up.
If you knew then what you knew now, would you still vote for the Iraq? Would you still have voted for the Iraq war?
Well, that's a hypothetical, Andrew. You can only vote at any point in time on what you know.
Do you regret voting for it?
On what I voted in the way that I thought was right. When that vote came into Parliament.
But he was right on that and you were wrong, isn't that the truth?
No. I voted in the way that I believed was right when the vote came to Parliament. If we look ahead, there will be tough decisions to be taken. I think it's important that we have in Number 10 a Prime Minister willing to defend this country, to stand up for the defence of this country. Jeremy Corbyn has shown he's not willing to do that with economic policies that will take this country forward.
Example. Lots and lots of young people do a job that I wouldn't do and perhaps you wouldn't do. They decide to become nurses and give something back. Now, according to the Royal College of Nursing, they have had a 14% pay cut since 2010. And we now get stories, again from the RCN, of lots of ordinary nurses, by the end of the week, having to use food banks because they can't afford to pay for food. That is not the kind of country that you want to run, is it?
I want a country that works for everyone, not just the privileged few. If we look at what happens, but if we look at what is happening in relation to pay within the National Health Service, in fact, when you look at basic pay together with progression pay, actually for around half of NHS staff, they have annual increase of around, on average, 3% rather than just the 1% basic pay. But I come back to the key question, which is, we have, and if you look at the National Health Service and funding in the National Health Service, we're putting £10 billion extra into it.
I'm sorry, Prime Minister, but we have nurses going to food banks at the moment. That must be wrong.
We have, and there are many complex reasons why people go to food banks. And I want to develop an economy where, yes, we have a strong economy so that we can pay for the public services that people need, but also we have an economy where we're creating secure jobs and well-paid jobs and higher-paid jobs for people. Well, but you're only going to do that if you've got...
They haven't got enough money to eat at the moment.
But if you're only going to be able to do this if you have a government that understands the importance of that strength in the economy. If you look at the proposals that the Labour Party are coming forward with, they're nonsensical proposals which simply don't add up and would actually lead to less money being available for the National Health Service, less money being available for public sector pay, and higher taxes on people.
Under the Conservatives, under your government, the record number of food parcels last